The Galactic Conclave chamber was carved from a dead star. Its walls glowed with slow, ancient light. Hundreds of species watched from floating thrones, crystal rings, and hovering clouds of gas. This was where judgment was made. At the center stood a single human. Ambassador Elena Marrow wore a simple dark uniform. No glowing tech. No bioarmor. Just cloth, metal, and calm eyes. Around her, alien observers whispered through scents, clicks, and psychic pulses. Species designation, human, boomed the conclave voice, an artificial intelligence older than most civilizations. Origin, Sol system. Technological tier, low-mid interstellar. A ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. The Virex Dominion representative leaned forward. His many eyes narrowed. His mandibles clicked in open mockery. They burn fossil fuels, he said. They still argue over borders on one planet. Why are they here? Another delegate, a floating mass of blue light from the Kale Continuum, pulsed softly. They survived a Class F extinction event, it said. Barely. Elena listened. She had trained for this. Humanity had trained for this. The conclave voice continued. Petition, humanity requests protected status under conclave law. Laughter echoed in many forms. The Virex stood. His armored body scraped against the starstone floor. Protected? From whom? He asked. From pirates? From us. Elena finally spoke. Her voice was steady. From extinction. That silenced some of the room. The Virex tilted his head. You admit weakness. No, Elena said. We admit reality. We are young. But we learn fast. A chittering sound spread among the delegates. The idea was amusing. Humans were newcomers. Barely 300 years into faster-than-light travel. Their ships were rough. Their weapons crude. Their colonies few. The conclave voice processed data streams. Threat assessment. Humanity poses no significant military risk to the galactic balance. The words cut deep, but Elena did not react. The vote was swift. Denied. As Elena turned to leave, the Virex called after her. Be grateful, little mammal. The galaxy is cruel. You will not last long enough to regret this. Elena paused at the chamber doors. Maybe, she said. But we have surprised ourselves before. She walked out. Far away beyond the polished worlds of the core, human space was quiet. Too quiet. In the Sol system, deep under the surface of Mars, the Strategic Assembly watched the conclave feed in silence. Admiral Jonah Reyes broke it. So, he said, leaning back. They think we're harmless. Director Anika Rao smiled faintly. That was the goal. Around them, screens showed fleets hidden in asteroid belts, research stations buried inside gas giants, and shipyards drifting dark between stars. Humanity had learned something early. If the galaxy underestimated you, let it. Part 2, the first bite. The attack came 6 months later. The Virex Dominion fleets crossed into human border space without warning. Dozens of warships, black and gold, moved like a hunting swarm. Their target was New Horizon, a human colony world on the edge of explored space. The Virex believed in demonstration. Crush one world. The rest would fall in line. On New Horizon, alarms screamed across cities and farms. Civilian transports fled toward the system's outer edge. Governor Malik stood in the command bunker, watching the sky burn. They're not even pretending, he said. In orbit, the human defense fleet formed up. It was small. Too small. Commodore Lena Ortiz watched the Virex ships advance. Her hands were steady on the controls. All units, she said, remember the plan? Stick to timing. Her first officer swallowed. They outgun us 10-1. Ortiz smiled thinly. Only if we fight the way they expect. The Virex opened fire. Plasma lances tore through space. 2 human frigates vanished in fire. The Virex commander clicked in satisfaction. Then space bent. Human ships scattered, not fleeing but weaving through microjump bursts. Short-range FTL hops, dangerous and unstable. No sane species used them in combat. Humans did. Virex targeting systems struggled. Their weapons fired where humans had been, not where they were. Ortiz's cruiser appeared behind a Virex destroyer. Fire everything. Kinetic slugs, missiles, and focused energy slammed into the destroyer's engines. It broke apart. The Virex commander hissed. Adapt targeting. Too late. From New Horizon's moon, hidden launch silos opened. Hundreds of autonomous drones burst forth. They swarmed the Virex fleet, jamming sensors, hacking communications, detonating against weak points. The battle turned chaotic. Human ships took losses. But every loss was calculated. After 3 hours, the Virex retreated. They had lost a third of their fleet. In the conclave, shock rippled. This is impossible, the Kale continuum pulsed. They should not have this capacity. The Virex representative was silent. His mandibles trembled. On Mars, Admiral Reyes watched the retreating enemy. Phase 1 complete, he said. Director Rao nodded. They bit. Now they will watch. Reyes folded his hands. And when they watch, they will see what we want them to see. Part 3, Masks and Mirrors. The galaxy reacted fast. Trade routes shifted. Espionage increased. Probes slipped into human space, many never returning. Humanity responded with openness. They invited observers. Allowed limited access to colonies. Shared carefully edited data. Their cities looked fragile. Their ships looked patched together. Their politics looked messy. It was all true. And incomplete. In secret, humanity changed. Research worlds accelerated projects once considered impossible. AI-human hybrid command systems. Adaptive armor grown from living materials. Weapons that learned from every shot fired. On Europa Station, Dr. Elias Chin stood before a massive tank of shifting metal. It's not just armor, he said. It's memory. The metal flowed around a projectile, then hardened. Next impact, it was already ready. Good, said Director Rao. We won't get a third chance. Meanwhile, alien politics boiled. The Virex Dominion demanded sanctions. They are destabilizing the balance, they argued. Others disagreed. They defend themselves, said a delegate from the Erwin clans. Is that a crime? The conclave hesitated. Then came the second bite. A coalition fleet, led quietly by the Virex, moved to blockade human trade lanes. Not war. Just pressure. Human convoys were stopped. Inspected. Delayed. At first, humans protested. Then they adapted. Trade shifted to routes no one used. Through unstable regions. Near pulsars. Inside nebulae thick with radiation. Human ships appeared where they should not survive. Alien traders noticed. How are they doing this? One asked. The answer came during the Battle of Silent Drift. A Virex patrol ambushed a human convoy in a dead system. No stars. No cover. The Virex fired. Human ships did not dodge. They vanished. Moments later, they reappeared inside the Virex formation. Boarding actions followed. Human marines, armored in adaptive suits, fought through corridors with brutal efficiency. The Virex lost the patrol. Footage leaked. The galaxy watched humans fight inside enemy ships, using gravity, atmosphere, and fear itself as weapons. A phrase began to spread. Do not corner humans. Part 4. The war nobody wanted. The conclave failed. Sanctions collapsed. Border skirmishes grew. The Virex Dominion declared open war. Their full fleets mobilized. Thousands of ships. Planet crackers. Ancient weapons. Humanity responded with a single message. The Virex Dominion did not declare war. They did not send diplomats or ultimatums. They sent fleets. In Virex culture, power was proven through action. Words were weakness. If a species could not defend itself, it did not deserve to exist. Humanity, to the Virex, was an experiment that had already failed. The invasion force emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the New Horizon system, black hulls reflecting the light of a pale yellow star. Their formation was perfect. Layered shields, overlapping fire arcs, command ships protected at the center. Virex Admiral Carthel watched the system map with cold satisfaction. One colony, he said through clicking mandibles. One lesson. New Horizon was young. Only 12 million humans lived there. Farms stretched across red plains. Cities glimmered beside shallow seas. It was not a fortress world. That was the point. On the planet's surface, warning sirens howled across settlements. Skylifts halted midair. Children were pulled into shelters. The sky filled with streaks of emergency craft fleeing toward orbital stations. Governor Amir Malik stood inside the planetary command bunker, hands clenched behind his back. They're not opening channels, an officer said. No demands. Malik exhaled slowly. Then they never intended to negotiate. In orbit, the Human Defense Fleet, New Horizon Group formed its line. It was small. 8 cruisers. 12 frigates. A handful of corvettes. Against them, over 60 Virex warships. Commodore Lena Ortiz stood on the bridge of the cruiser HMS Resolve. Her dark hair was tied back tight. Her eyes never left the tactical display. Her first officer whispered, They're lining up for a frontal burn. Ortiz nodded. Of course they are. Across the fleet, her voice echoed calm and steady. All ships initiate ghost pattern. Stick to timing. No hero moves. Some captains hesitated. Ghost pattern was dangerous. Experimental. It relied on short-range FTL jumps inside combat zones. Other species avoided such tactics because one miscalculation meant shredding a ship across spacetime. Humans had tested it anyway. The Virex fired first. Lances of emerald plasma tore through the void. One human frigate vanished instantly, its shield collapsing like paper. Another spun out, engines aflame. On the Virex flagship, Admiral Carthel clicked in approval. As expected, he said. They break quickly. Then the humans disappeared. Not retreated. Vanished. Virex sensors screamed errors. Target locks failed. Predictive firing algorithms returned nothing but static. What is this? Carthel hissed. Human ships reappeared, behind the Virex formation. The Resolve dropped out of microjump barely 3 kilometers from a Virex destroyer. Space twisted briefly like a scar snapping shut. Fire, Ortiz said simply. Everything the cruiser had unleashed at once. Rail slugs punched through layered armor. Missiles detonated inside exposed engine housings. The destroyer split apart, its pieces drifting silently. Human frigates danced through space, jumping, firing, vanishing again. Every appearance was brief. Every strike precise. The Virex formation faltered. Adapt targeting, Carthel ordered. Spread pattern fire. But humans did not stay long enough to be targeted. Then New Horizons moon activated. Hidden beneath its cratered surface, launch bays opened. Hundreds of small shapes burst outward, autonomous combat drones, each one barely the size of a vehicle. They did not attack ships directly. They attacked systems. Sensors went dark. Communications filled with false signals. Shield harmonics destabilized. A Virex officer shouted, "They are inside our networks." "That is impossible." Carthel snapped. But it was happening. The drones learned in real time. Every failed hack improved the next attempt. Virex ships began firing on ghost contacts while human vessels slipped through gaps. On the Resolve, alarms flared. "Shields at 40%, the first officer said. Ortiz nodded. Good. Means they're guessing. A Virex cruiser finally scored a hit, tearing through a human corvette. The explosion was bright and final. Ortiz closed her eyes for half a second. "Mark it," she said quietly. And continue. The battle dragged on for hours. Humans lost ships. Pilots died. But the Virex lost something more dangerous. Confidence. Their perfect formations broke apart. Individual captains began acting alone, trying to chase targets that refused to stay still. At last, Admiral Carthel gave the order he never expected to give. Withdraw. The Virex fleet jumped away, leaving wreckage behind. Silence filled the system. On New Horizon, people stared up at the sky, unsure if it was truly over. In the planetary bunker, Governor Malik slumped into a chair. They've left. In orbit, Commodore Ortiz leaned back, exhaustion finally catching up to her. "Fleet status?" she asked. "Operational," came the reply. "Barely. Casualties confirmed." Ortiz nodded once. "Send the data package to Sol. Full battle telemetry." Far away on Mars, Admiral Jonah Reyes watched the replay in silence. Every jump, every loss, every adaptation. Director Anika Rao stood beside him. "They took the bait," she said. Reyes folded his arms. "Yes. And now the galaxy knows something is wrong." Rao smiled faintly. "They thought humans were prey." Reyes looked at the burning remains of a Virex ship on the screen. "They just learned we bite back." The galaxy did not sleep after New Horizon. It watched. Trade hubs buzzed with rumor. Data brokers sold slowed-down battle footage frame by frame. Military analysts from 100 species replayed the same moment again and again. The instant human ships vanished, then reappeared where logic said they could not be. The conclusion was always the same. Something was being hidden. In the crystalline halls of the Galactic Conclave, emergency sessions were called. Delegates argued in sound, light, pheromones, and thought. They used forbidden physics, accused a Virex-aligned envoy. "No," replied an elder machine mind. "They used risky physics." "That is worse," hissed another. "Only desperate species gamble their own existence." The Kale continuum pulsed thoughtfully. "Or species accustomed to living on the edge." Humanity said very little. Official statements were calm. Defensive. almost apologetic. "We regret the loss of life," Ambassador Elena Mero said in a public broadcast. "We will continue to pursue peace." Behind those words, a storm was building. Within human space, Directive Veil activated. Colonies received new infrastructure upgrades. Shipyards expanded under the excuse of civilian transport demand. Research stations multiplied near unstable stars and deep gravity wells, places most species avoided. And human scientists stopped asking if something was possible. They asked how fast it could be done. On Europa Station, buried beneath kilometers of ice, Dr. Elias Chen walked beside a massive containment chamber. Inside, liquid metal armor flowed like mercury around a humanoid frame. "It's learning," he said to the observing generals. "Every impact rewrites its own structure." A general frowned. "Will it fail?" Chen nodded. "Eventually. Everything does. But it will fail later each time." Elsewhere, AI development crossed a line no alien civilization dared to cross. Human AIs were not rulers. They were partners. Neural-linked command systems allowed human intuition and machine calculation to fuse. Reaction times dropped below what alien sensors could track. Admiral Reyes reviewed the classified report and exhaled slowly. "If the Conclave knew." "They don't," Director Rao said. "And they won't. Not yet." Humanity wore weakness like a mask. Alien observers were invited to human worlds. They saw crowded cities. Political arguments broadcast openly. Infrastructure that looked messy and inefficient. "This species is chaotic," one observer reported. "Internally divided." The report was accurate. And misleading. Because chaos was familiar to humans. They had evolved inside it. While spies watched surface-level disorder, deeper systems synchronized. Emergency mobilization drills ran quietly. Civilian industries were mapped for instant conversion to war production. Every transport lane had 3 backups. Human logistics did not rely on perfection. They relied on redundancy. The second pressure came quietly. Virex patrol fleets, officially anti-piracy, began stopping human trade convoys near contested regions. Ships were inspected. Cargo delayed. Routes choked. Not war. Just inconvenience. The Conclave hesitated. No laws were technically broken. Human trade suffered. Colonies felt strain. Protests erupted on Earth and Mars. The galaxy smiled. Then humans adapted. Trade routes changed overnight. Convoys traveled through radiation-heavy nebulae, unstable gravity zones, and dead systems stripped of stars. Regions where alien navigation systems failed. Human ships kept moving. "How are they surviving this?" an Erewhon trader demanded. The answer came in fragments: radiation-hardened hulls, predictive navigation AIs, crews trained to operate without external references. Humans did not fear hostile environments. They assumed environments were hostile. The Battle of Silent Drift shattered the illusion completely. A Virex patrol intercepted a human convoy in a starless system. No planets. No gravity wells. Nothing but darkness. Perfect for an ambush. The Virex opened fire immediately. Energy beams cut through where human ships should have been. But the humans did not run. They cut power. Every ship went dark. No emissions. No signals. Virex sensors scanned emptiness. "Targets lost," an officer reported. Moments later, something struck the hull. Not weapons fire. Docking clamps. Human boarding pods slammed into Virex cruisers. Cutting torches burned through armor. Airlocks exploded inward. Inside the corridors, Virex warriors faced something they had never encountered. Humans fighting inside enemy ships. They used smoke, flash pulses, gravity manipulation. They attacked from floors, ceilings, and vents. Their armor adapted to weapon impacts in real time. A Virex captain tried to trigger self-destruct. The system rejected the command. Human code had rewritten it. Within 30 minutes, the patrol was disabled. Footage leaked. The galaxy watched human soldiers drag wounded comrades back through burning corridors. Heard their short, brutal commands. "Move. Cover left. Keep breathing." No war cries. No ritual. Just efficiency. A warning spread through mercenary channels and pirate dens alike. Do not board human ships. Do not corner humans. Do not assume they will fight clean. In the Conclave, fear replaced laughter. "They are evolving during conflict," the Kale pulsed. "That rate is unsustainable." An Erewhon elder replied softly. So was their survival on a death world. In Seoul, Admiral Reyes stood before the Strategic Assembly. "Phase 2 is complete," he said. They are watching us closely now. Director Rao nodded. Good. The closer they look, the more they will misunderstand. Reyes allowed himself a thin smile. Because they think power is what you show. Behind him, screens displayed projects still hidden. Fleets still dark. Technology still untested. Humanity was not revealing strength. They were shaping the battlefield of belief. And the galaxy was walking exactly where humans wanted it to go. War was declared in the conclave chamber, but it began far from it. The Virex Dominion broadcast the declaration across open channels, their symbol burning bright in the void. The message was short and absolute. Humanity is a destabilizing force. By right of strength they will be corrected. Across the galaxy silence followed. Then the borders ignited. Virex fleets surged forward in numbers never seen before. Thousands of warships moved in layered waves, escorted by ancient relic vessels whose designs predated human civilization by millennia. Entire systems fell without resistance as neutral powers withdrew rather than be crushed between giants. Human space did not collapse. Bet. On Mars, in the deepest chamber of the Strategic Assembly, Admiral Jonah Reyes addressed commanders from every human fleet. They want territory, he said, gesturing to the holographic star map. They want submission. We will give them neither. A general spoke up. They outnumber us 5-1. Reyes nodded. Then we make every system cost them 10. Human strategy shocked alien analysts. They did not defend borders. They abandoned them. Colonies were evacuated under fire. Infrastructure was stripped or booby-trapped. When Virex fleets arrived, they found empty worlds and poisoned supply lines. Cowardice, Virex propaganda declared. But each advance stretched their logistics thinner. Human strike groups appeared behind the front lines. They destroyed fuel depots, hacked manufacturing worlds, and vanished before reinforcements arrived. Human fleets did not seek glory. They sought exhaustion. At the Battle of Karsus Gate, a narrow hyperlane junction, a Virex armada advanced with overwhelming force. They expected a last stand. Instead they found silence. Then the star flared. Human astrophysicists had calculated the exact moment. A controlled detonation triggered a stellar instability. Radiation flooded the system in a blinding storm. Human ships, shielded and pre-calibrated, surged forward. Virex vessels died blind, their sensors overwhelmed, their crews screaming in confusion. The galaxy recoiled. They weaponized a star, whispered an Erewhon admiral. No, corrected the Kale Continuum. They listened to it. Virex losses mounted. Entire fleets arrived at rally points only to find their resupply convoys missing. Human cyber warfare units had rewritten navigation data. Automated factories turned out flawed components that failed in combat. The Dominion began to fracture under the strain. Subject species, long ruled through fear, saw weakness. Rebellions flared. The conclave debated intervention, but hesitation ruled. No one wanted to face a species that treated war as a problem to be solved, not a contest to be won. Human losses were severe. Cities burned. Ships were lost with all hands. News feeds on Earth showed funerals and evacuation lines stretching for kilometers. President Amina Okoye addressed the public. We did not choose this war, she said. But we will choose how it ends. The Virex, desperate to restore dominance, unveiled their final doctrine. Decapitation. They would strike Earth. Not to conquer it. To erase it. The superweapon was ancient, its core built around compressed stellar matter. It could crack a planet in a single discharge. When it emerged at the edge of the Sol system, even hardened human commanders felt fear. Earth's sky filled with defensive formations. Civilian traffic vanished underground. Every human world watched the feed. On the Virex command deck, their supreme strategist spoke coldly. End them. Humanity answered with silence. Then the fleets moved. Human ships did not charge the weapon directly. They swarmed its escorts, sacrificing vessels to open brief corridors. Strike teams launched under cover of chaos. Inside the superweapon, human soldiers fought through alien defenders and shifting gravity fields. Losses were catastrophic. They reached the core. The order was clear. Not disable. Overload. On Earth, people watched the sky burn as the superweapon exploded in a starbright flash. Shockwaves rippled through space. When the light faded, the weapon was gone. So was the Virex command fleet. Human ships drifted, shattered but victorious. The galaxy exhaled. The war did not end that day. But everyone knew it had changed. Because humanity had proven something no conclave law could ignore. They would rather burn themselves than kneel. And that made them unstoppable. The destruction of the Virex superweapon did not end the war. It redefined it. Across the galaxy, news spread faster than light. A younger species had faced annihilation and chosen defiance. Entire star systems paused their trade cycles to watch the aftermath. Ancient empires recalculated probabilities that had once been considered absolute. On Earth, the victory felt nothing like triumph. Cities remained dark under emergency power. Orbital debris burned in the atmosphere like falling stars. Hospitals overflowed with wounded soldiers and civilians pulled from evacuation zones too late. President Amina Okoye stood in the ruins of Nairobi Orbital Control, her hands resting on a cracked console. She listened to casualty numbers without interruption. When the briefing ended, she closed her eyes. "We survived," she said softly. "That must be enough for today." But the Virex Dominion was not finished. Stripped of their ultimate weapon, they turned to desperation. Their remaining fleets regrouped around fortress systems near the galactic core. Propaganda flooded open channels, blaming internal traitors and promising retribution. More dangerously, they changed tactics. They stopped fighting humans in space. They attacked human worlds. Fast-strike fleets bypassed defenses, targeting infrastructure, habitats, and population centers. The goal was terror. Break morale. Force surrender through pain. At Haven's Reach, a civilian colony, Virex raiders bombarded orbital habitats before defense ships could respond. Thousands died in minutes. The footage reached Earth. Humanity snapped. In the strategic assembly, arguments turned to shouts. Some demanded total war. Others pleaded for restraint, fearing the conclave would intervene if humans went too far. Admiral Reyes slammed his hand on the table. "They crossed the line when they aimed at children," he said. "There is no restraint left." Director Rao looked at him steadily. "There is only control. If we lose that, we become what they say we are." Reyes exhaled. "Then show me another way." Rao activated a holoscreen. Project Aegis. A planetary defense doctrine built not on shields but on denial. Human worlds would become traps. Over the following months, humanity transformed its home systems. Civilian infrastructure was hardened and buried. Orbital rings concealed weapon arrays disguised as debris. Asteroid belts became minefields that could reconfigure themselves. When Virex raiders struck Arcadia, they found a welcoming target. Too welcoming. Human defense systems remained silent as Virex ships descended. Only when they committed fully did space erupt. Hidden cannons tore through hulls. Autonomous killsats swarmed. Gravity traps locked enemy ships in place. None escaped. The message was clear. Human worlds were no longer weak points. They were teeth. Meanwhile, human special operations units went on the offensive. They did not target fleets. They targeted leadership. Virex command nodes vanished. Admirals died in accidents. Entire decision trees collapsed as human cyber warfare infected strategic AIs with doubt, delay, and false certainty. A Virex commander was overheard screaming during a retreat. "They are everywhere. How do they know before we decide?" The truth was simpler. Humans anticipated behavior. They had studied Virex doctrine, modeled their pride, their rigidity, their need to dominate. At the Siege of Black Crown, the last major Virex stronghold near human space, the Dominion made its stand. Thousands of ships formed layered defenses around a dead star-turned fortress. Human fleets arrived slowly, deliberately. They did not attack immediately. They waited. Days passed. Virex crews grew tense. Supplies dwindled. Morale cracked. Then humans struck, not the fortress but the star itself. Using precisely placed mass drivers, they destabilized the dead star's gravity shell. The fortress began to tear itself apart. Human ships moved in through the chaos, disabling defenders with surgical precision. The siege ended without planetary destruction. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Humanity had done what no empire had ever managed. They broke a dominion without becoming one. Back on Earth, President Okoye addressed the conclave directly. "We do not seek revenge," she said. "But we will not allow fear to decide our future." The conclave listened. For the first time, truly listened. Because the war had proven something undeniable. Humanity did not defend its homeworld because it was sacred. They defended it because it was theirs. And they would never allow the galaxy to forget that. The war did not end with a surrender. It ended with silence. Across former Virex-controlled space, fleets powered down. Command channels went unanswered. Fortress worlds sealed themselves and waited for orders that never came. The Virex dominion, built on domination and fear, had lost its center. Without it, everything unraveled. Subject species rose in open revolt. Mining worlds shut down production. Shipyards sabotaged their own output. The Dominion's rigid hierarchy, once its greatest strength, became a fatal weakness. No one knew how to act without orders. Humanity did not rush to fill the vacuum. They watched. In the Galactic Conclave, emergency lights glowed as delegates gathered once more. This time there was no mockery. No amusement. Only unease. The balance has collapsed, declared a crystalline delegate. We must act. Act how? Replied an Erewhon elder. Against the humans? Or because of them? The chamber fell quiet. The conclave voice activated, its ancient systems processing more data than at any time in recorded history. Casualty analysis complete, it intoned. Strategic modeling indicates, humanity did not seek territorial expansion. Humanity did not engage in extermination. Humanity consistently chose limited objectives. Pause. Conclusion, humanity exercised restraint. That word carried weight. The Virex representative seat remained empty. What remained of the Dominion had sent no envoy. No apology. No demand. Only fragments. On a shattered Virex world, former Supreme Strategist Carthel, wounded, disgraced and abandoned, watched human ships pass overhead. They did not fire. They did not land. They ignored him. The greatest humiliation of all. Human diplomats arrived not with threats, but with conditions. Cease hostilities. Release captive species. Dismantle superweapon research. Accept conclave oversight. For many former Virex worlds the choice was simple. Survive. In Sol, the Strategic Assembly debated humanity's future. We could take the core, argued one admiral. No one could stop us now. Admiral Reyes shook his head. And rule what? Fear lasts until someone stops being afraid. Director Rao spoke quietly. We won because we didn't need to win everything. The final vote was unanimous. Humanity would not claim dominion. They would claim position. At the Galactic Conclave, Ambassador Elena Marrow returned to the chamber where she had once been dismissed. She stood at the center again. This time no one interrupted. The conclave voice spoke. Reclassification vote initiated. Species, humanity. Proposed status, apex adaptive civilization. Voting authority, full. Lights ignited across the chamber. One by one, every delegate signaled assent. The vote passed without a single objection. A sound spread through the hall, not applause but something deeper. Acceptance. Elena met the gaze of the assembled powers. We did not outgrow you, she said. We survived you. There is a difference. A Kale continuum pulse rippled gently. You change faster than any model predicts. Elena nodded. Because we never assume we are finished. New accords followed quickly. Humanity gained a permanent seat. Veto power. Defense authority over frontier regions. Not because they demanded it, but because no one else could fill the role. Human advisors were invited into alien war colleges. Their doctrines were studied, then quietly rewritten around a single principle. Expect the unexpected. On Earth the war memorials rose slowly. Names etched into stone. No grand statues. Just quiet places to remember. Admiral Reyes stood before one such wall, hands clasped behind his back. We lost a lot, he said. Yes, Director Rao replied. But not ourselves. Reyes looked up at the sky, where new human-built stations gleamed among the stars. They won't forget us, he said. Rao allowed a rare smile. No. And they won't underestimate us again. Far beyond conclave space, ancient observers stirred. They are not conquerors, one whispered. No, another replied. They are worse. What could be worse than conquest? They learn from every enemy, the first said. And they survive what should kill them. In the quiet that followed, one truth settled across the galaxy. Humanity had passed judgment not through force alone, but through choice. They could have ruled through fear. Instead they ruled through consequence. And every civilization now understood the same lesson. If humanity ever chose domination, there would be no second chance to stop them. The war became history faster than anyone expected. Not because it was forgotten, but because the galaxy was busy changing around the absence it left behind. Former Virex territory reorganized into smaller federations. Species that had once bowed now voted. Borders shifted not through invasion but negotiation, often with human observers present, quiet and unreadable. Humanity did not build an empire. They built gravity. Trade flowed toward human space because routes were safer there. Disputes were brought to human-mediated courts because judgments were consistent. Frontier systems asked for human defense pacts not out of fear but trust. The galaxy adjusted its orbit. On Earth, life resumed its fragile normality. Cities rebuilt higher and deeper. Children learned about the war in schools, not as a tale of glory but of cost. We survived because we planned, teachers said, and because we refused to stop thinking. Admiral Jonah Reyes stood on a balcony overlooking the Martian shipyards one last time. He was older now. Lines marked his face. Below him, ships of new design slid from docks. Sleek, modular, capable of roles not yet named. Director Anika Rao joined him. "They're asking again," she said. "The Frontier Council wants us to take direct control." Reyes smiled faintly. "They always will." "And?" Rao asked. Reyes shook his head. "No. We guide. We warn. We respond. That's enough." Rao nodded. "The galaxy still doesn't know how much we held back." Reyes looked out at the stars. "They don't need to." Beyond human space, legends formed. Pirates told stories of ships that appeared from nowhere. Mercenaries whispered of battles where humans retreated only to return with perfect counters. Alien tacticians rewrote doctrines around a single cautionary rule. If humans seem unprepared, you are already too late. In the deepest reaches of space, ancient watchers, beings older than the conclave itself, observed humanity with growing attention. "They have not stagnated," one said. "They have not exhausted themselves," said another. "They are still accelerating," a third concluded. The watchers remembered other apex species. All had fallen. Except this one adapted through survival, not dominance. Back on Earth, Ambassador Elena Mero stood at a memorial beneath open sky. Names shimmered in soft light. She placed her hand against the stone. "We were underestimated," she said quietly. "That saved us." A young officer nearby asked, "Will it happen again?" Elena smiled sadly. "Of course. Someone will always think they know us." The officer frowned. "And then?" "Then," Elena said looking up at the stars, "we remind them." Years later, a crisis erupted beyond known space. A hostile extragalactic force breached the outer dark, vast, ancient, and merciless. Conclave defenses failed within weeks. Entire fleets vanished. A single message echoed across the galaxy, requesting aid. Humanity responded. Not with speeches. With fleets already moving. Human commanders studied the enemy for one battle. Then adapted. The war beyond the dark ended faster than anyone believed possible. Afterward, an alien historian asked a human strategist a question that would be recorded for millennia. "How did you know you would win?" The human paused, then answered simply. "We didn't. We just knew we'd still be here when it was over." In the end, the galaxy understood the truth it had missed at first contact. Humans were not special because they were stronger. Not because they were smarter. Not because they were cruel. But because they were unfinished. Always changing. Always learning. Always preparing for the next impossible problem. And in a universe where everything eventually breaks, humanity endured. They outsmarted the galaxy.